Everyone, welcome back to the How to Podcast series. The guest today, I haven't been able to say this often, but this guest and I have shared some time together here in Niagara Falls area. He and his lovely wife made the trek all the way up here to Canada to say hi. And that's when you know you've met some really great friends, when somebody will do that. And it was a thrill to have these two here in our world for a while, and some great memories made. And I'm so happy that Nate has time to come on the podcast, talk about his Audiocast. And I said that on purpose because it is an Audiocast, and Nate's going to help us explain that even more. NathanielATurner.com is the website. And this gentleman is worth your attention. Nate, welcome to the How to Podcast series.
Thank you for having me, Dave. I appreciate it. My brother from another mother.
See, now you sound like you're being so good right now.
Well, you
but
told
I've
me.
seen another side of Nate Turner, so this is great. Nice to see you.
You told me to be on my best behavior, so I'm on my best behavior. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it.
Hey, it's good to see you, my friend. We had the chance to get together, and it was very fun. My wife is still talking about it. It was really good. We had a chance to interact, and again, I don't get to do that very often with the great people I meet online, and through podcasting. To have a chance to be with you guys was awesome. Sipped a little wine, drove around a lot, walked a lot, but it was good. It was really fun.
Absolutely. I'd say we came for the falls and we stayed for the waffles. I mean, I'm sorry, we didn't have waffles. We didn't have inside joke.
Wow. Look, I can tell my wife's radar just went off right now. So okay,
no, man, we had
have to edit that out.
We had a great time, yeah. And as I told you, I'm a big believer in seriously in touching flesh, especially with people who you get to meet and feel like quality people like you and your wife. And so rather than just see you through a screen, I wanted to actually come and spend some time with you. So it was great. And I appreciate you allowing me to enter the border, or I should say Canada allowed me to cross the border. But yeah, it was a great time.
Good. So we've connected through you as a guest on my podcast in the past. You came on and talk about your books. You came on to talk about what you do in this world. It's exciting. And then from there, it's awesome about podcasting that you can turn an interview and an interaction like that into a friendship. It's great. I'm a better person by having you on my show and having you in my life. So it's really great to have you here to talk about what you do. You have an Audiocast, and I actually prefer the term Audiocast over podcast. I got to tell you, because everybody gets all freaky weird about what do we call this thing? We have videos, we have audio, we have all these things. You've chosen Audiocast, and I have to edit myself every time I talk to you because my default setting is podcast, and it's even in the name of my show. So there you go. So why the term Audiocast? Was that intentional?
Well, I mean, you've been a part of this journey, the audio version of it. So yes, I had no intention of doing what you do. I did not intend on hosting anyone on a podcast or having any kind of weekly conversation with someone. As you know, I wake up each day and I write my life the way I'd like it to be as opposed to the way it is. And I'm sure we'll talk more about that later. And so I was voluntold that I should share it with other people. And then I was told I should consider turning it into I should read the journal myself. And then I was told I should find someone to produce it and add music to it. And so since I was going to be the only voice people heard, then it just seemed like it was more of just an audio cast, a casting of my voice as opposed to a podcast, which is typically a set of interviews.
And how long have you been doing this like daily journal practice?
I started in the fall of 2018. Wow. So sometime around September, I believe, late August, early September, I started writing I started making an effort to journal. I don't think I'd figured it out completely how to journal for it until I think February of 2019. and I'd written something and it was just complete gibberish and anger and venom. And I was like, dude, this is not healthy at all. You got to find another way to figure out how to change your life. And so I decided I would write what I wanted to happen as opposed to what was happening. Then it was born.
Do you write your journals differently now that you know that some of them are going to end up out there in the world shared, or are they all just the same process?
Yeah, it's the same process. The process has grown. So when I first started, the goal was to write for 8 minutes. And there was this science that I heard called around part of our brain, and I won't spend much time about that, but it's the science that indicates that your brain does not know the difference between reality and imagination. So that if you're telling your brain that something good is happening, then the things that happen in your body when something is actually happening good happens to your body the same way. And so it's this system we call reticular activating system. So I started writing for 8 minutes. At least that was my attempt. I had a hard time writing anything positive for 8 minutes. And then it grew to 14. And then I landed on 20 because, again, there's some science about how much time you can deliberately do something without an interruption. And so, but yeah, every day is 20 minutes. And I don't worry about what it is I'm going to say or how someone else might receive it, because I'm really just writing it to myself. The fact that I'm sharing it with somebody else is less important. I'm really trying to get myself to be motivated to move forward. I'm trying to inspire me, not necessarily anyone else.
So you're starting with a blank page every day?
Every day.
Wow.
Every day.
Are there any days when it just doesn't work? Doesn't flow?
Yeah, some mornings I may find myself unable to write immediately. But if I can't write immediately, if there's something that I think about, I may make a note about it, and hopefully I can come back. I pretty much know now how to quiet my brain and be still for 20 minutes to be able to write in the stream of consciousness. But for the most part, I can wake up daily and do the same thing over and over again.
Amazing. I love how you talk to the listener in this, even though it's very highly personal. Like it's something you're doing for yourself, but it translates really well to a listening experience. I get the joy of listening to all of these, which is fun for me. And then to add the musical element to it as well. What was the idea behind adding music behind it?
So can I tell you why it exists? I have to tell you why it exists as an audio as opposed,
okay.
And then I can tell you about the music piece. So,
okay, yeah.
So Dr. Robin. So Dr. Robin Robin, for those who don't know her, Dr. Robin Henderson is also a minister. And so you, Dave, Robin, and I share some commonality in that walk of life or previous walk of life. But Robin would read it. Robin one day said, "Hey, you seem a little different. What's going on?" I said, "I don't know. I've been doing this journaling thing as a way to work on depression, sort of calm my spirit, find a way to, get to where it is I want to be, and it's a part of this process." And she says, "Oh, cool. Can I read some of what you've been writing?" So I shared it with her, and she came back and she said, you ought to, this reminds me of the Daily Bread. And it's a little book, right, that Christians read. And she says, it reminds me that although sometimes, Nate, you use some language that we don't use. So that's cool. She says, but you really should keep doing it. You're on to something. I think you should add reflections and action statements. And I said, yeah, that's great. I'm not doing none of that. If you want to add reflections, have at it. If you want to add action statements, have at it. And then I went on to say something like, all you people with these all these doctoral degrees, PhD degrees who haven't written a doggone thing yet, I always want to tell other people about what they should do. How about you write something? So, right, I essentially threw down the gauntlet, and she came back with 55 entries. She took what I said to heart, and she went and reviewed like the full year's worth of stuff and decided she picked 52 things that she thought we should do, and then threw in an extra 3. So that was the first thing, and that became a book. That became Journey Forward. And then Will Smith in 2020, I think, maybe it was 21, 22, certainly he was during the pandemic, wrote his book, Will. And when she heard him reading his own book, she, my wife, other friends and family members said, "Oh, wow, that's phenomenal." you ought to do the same thing with your journal, because nobody knows the nuances. When you tell them the joke, they don't know the nuances. People don't really know, Nate, that you walk around with songs in your head and you just start singing as an answer, as a response to a question or something. So you should do that. And so then I did it. And then in about I don't know, 6 months or so, during that time, I've been approached by, I won't say the name of the organization. They're a large organization and they have a huge online presence and they do work around motivational speaking. And they said, are you interested in doing that? And theirs had music. So I thought, well, maybe I should try to add music to it. And so, as you know, Dave, I just turned up music really loud in my house in the man cave and tried to record it that way. And then I met you and figured out, well, there's a better way to have it produced. And so, the long answer to your short question.
I love it. Yeah, because the music does set a tone for what you're talking about. When you're spirited, the music is up. And when you're more reflective, the music is soft and in the background. It just kind of brings you in as a listener. And that's what I really love about it. It really does match up well to kind of what's in your mind in the moment. And it kind of, I love it. I've heard of authors that will do like a Spotify playlist for their book. So when you're reading chapter 1, it's like, here's the song I was listening to when I wrote this chapter.
Right.
So this kind of sets the stage for you as you read this chapter. Here's where I'm at as the author. And now you're going to experience it different just by hearing the music behind what I wrote. I love that kind of interactive piece to it. It's a nice way to do that compared to other podcasts that use music as an intro, outro type thing. And
right.
It's there for a second and gone. It's kind of like the national anthem. It happens, but nobody refers to it after the fact. Your music takes you all the way through, right?
Well,
so it's good.
It does, thanks to you, because as I tell everyone, Dave makes me sound like I know what I'm talking about.
Yes, but without your part, it would just be a music track, right? So it all fits together, peanut butter and jelly, right?
Absolutely. And don't forget the bread, because then Robin would say, you left me out. I do write the reflections and I do the actions, yes. And then Robin comes on and then tells us how to make it applicable or useful in your own life.
Okay, so how does the Journal Forward Audiocast fit into all things Nate? Like you're a speaker, an author. You do a lot of different things. You have your own thing that you do, your 9 to 5-ish thing that you do, and then you do all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Where in this whole scheme of all things Nate does the Audiocast sit? Do you have a plan going forward for this? I'm asking selfishly because I love being a part of this. But where does this all kind of fit into the big master plan?
Well, to start with the more important thing, Dave, you're stuck with me. So that's peas and carrots, baby, peas and carrots. So where does it all go? The journaling, honestly, for just on a personal level, the journaling helped me, and again, you know this, because I'm a guy who suffers from depression, and journaling forward actually helps to pull me out of depression. And for anyone who's ever been depressed and could be as depressed as I've been known to be, and I don't want to make this a morbid, like a real sad conversation, but there are days when it gets really dark for me in my spirit, and I have been known to like walk on the edge of the street, looking at the oncoming traffic, wondering if this is the vehicle or the truck that's going fast enough. When I'm able to, when those things, when I have those moments where I feel like that, if I can find a pen and a paper and I can sit still for 20 minutes, I can change all of that. So journaling will always probably be a part of my life. Now, whether or not it's always something that we share through an audio format, I don't know. But in terms of writing every day, to find a way to keep my spirits up, then it works. So it's like, why would you stop doing something that works? I started doing it in part because it was something I asked the child to do. I asked my son as a part of his daily routine to imagine his best life and then write what he wanted to happen in his life. And his life has turned out to be pretty daggone good. And one day a group of students asked me if I did it in my own life. And like all great hypocrites, I had to say no. So that was in September of 2018 when I figured out I should do it. But yeah, I think we'll continue. I know I have no intentions at this moment of stopping. It's a part of what I do and that at least it's a tool that I can share with other folks who are suffering with depression, or folks who feel stuck in where they want to go, to at least begin in their mind to see what's possible for them to happen. And journaling for me is a way to see what's possible in the future. It's like you're part of the North Star. We're getting to the North Star.
So those people that encourage you to do this, any feedback from them on the results of their gentle push for you to do something in an audio format for the world?
Yeah, well, Robin thinks it's great. So, but I tell her all the time, she's her opinion doesn't matter anymore. I call that false flattery. She says, absolutely not. But yeah, I hear from people routinely who tell me that it's quite helpful. I hear from people sort of out of the blue saying, that something you said today really resonated with me, or folks telling me that, Latanya often tells me that I may say something that she adds to her list of mantras. Like, you said such and such today. Because in fact, today she was asking me about today's journal, because she lives with me. So she knows that many mornings I just hop out of bed. I don't say anything. And she's like, yeah, he's going to write something. Or I may wake up and turn on some music, and she'll say, is that what you got this morning? And I was like, yeah, like this morning I heard just in my spirit, Be Humble by Kendrick Lamar. I don't know if you ever heard it. He just said, sit down, be humble, sit down, be humble. So I got up, and that's what I wrote about. But I wrote about humility in a different way, that sometimes being humble just causes us to be humiliated. And so she was like, whoa, say that again. And so, yeah. So she thinks it's fine. My son thinks it's fine. My mom reads it. She usually sends me back some little emoji to tell me what she thought of it. So yeah, my family is cool with it, and then people outside the family who I don't know have also responded pretty favorably.
It's amazing. Okay, so on top of all this, you're an active guest on podcasts. You are on a variety of different shows talking about different elements about who you are and what you do in this world. Mm-hmm. What's it like as a guest on podcast? Are you seeing results from that? Is it something you enjoy doing? Is it a necessity for you at this point? What's your thoughts on guesting?
Yeah, I think of most things as just part of the process. I mean, what my long-term objective is. And so those things feel like, I don't want to say necessary evils, because they're not evils. I enjoy having conversations with people and certainly having conversations about things that most people don't think I'm capable of having a conversation about. So yeah, being on a podcast, talking to anyone and everybody feels a little bit like beta testing software. And so the only way you know if the software that you have is good and you can work out all the bugs is to try it as often as possible. So that's a little bit like what podcasting is for me at this moment. It's an opportunity to have discussions, try out ideas and thoughts that I have in my head, and figure out if they're thoughts and ideas that other people agree with, and then we can do something else with it.
So we've connected in the past, obviously, and then I went on PodMatch and set up my own account just recently because I want to get on more shows and have more guests come on my show. I'm looking at it as a way of advertising my podcasts, because now I'm meeting people through PodMatch and they're listening to my show, which could turn into a listener, could turn into a new friendship. Like, hey, we have it, so this is cool. And you're on PodMatch, and I know that you've got some pretty great ratings. You do a lot of things through PodMatch. But you mentioned something to me when we chatted kind of in a different context about what you do after you guest on a podcast. You do something specific for that podcast, and I don't hear a lot of people talking about that. Yep. I'd like you to kind of share what you do, because it might inspire someone else to follow your lead there.
So I think I do 2 or 3 things. So the first thing I do afterwards, I immediately send them a thank you note, which you'll get as well. And usually in my thank you note, I offer an apology. And my apology is that if I in some way have gone off track, said too much or too little about something, that I want to apologize to the host, because it's their show and all I want to do is be of service to them. So if I didn't serve them well, I just want them to know in advance that I apologize, and I'm happy to do whatever is necessary to rectify it. Then I also offer them copies of anything that I've ever written. In fact, they just simply say, if you can send me your address, I'd like to send you our books. And I just sent all of them. So
Wow.
all 9 of them, I put them in a box and I ship them off. I generally don't sign them
Yeah.
because I always tell people that if I sign them, it'll make them worth less than they were without my signature. So I send them. And then when they do send me the final copy um, of our time together, the interview, then I take it, I share it through all the social media sites that I have available to me. But also then I pay to sponsor and advertise it for it.
Now, that might seem normal to you and how you operate, Nate, but it's not normal. I'm just going to tell you, I have like hundreds and hundreds of interviews. There are times when I will try to reach out to my guests and, initiate a conversation after we've been together. Crickets, just like it's so transactional. Just you can tell they're one person I had on, and he just bragged about how many podcasts he could get on. He didn't care about what we talked about. He just wanted to add me as a notch on his list, right? And I'm like, well, I kind of feel like that's devaluing the whole process, right? We're supposed to be here for the listener, helping them on their journey and bringing out elements of your story to help them, not just being this, how many interviews can I have in 6 months type metric. I don't know about that.
Agree. I feel a little bit like, I mean, to your point, I hadn't thought about it like this, but I do think of a lot of things like this. I feel like it's a little bit like dating. And I don't know, you've heard me say this, and I'll say it to you again. I don't know who will be the last person I have a conversation with. It could be Dave. And I'm really serious about this ideal about making sure that who I want to be when I'm no more is who I am right now in this present moment. And if the last interaction I have with anyone is you, and I treat you the way you just described it, then, and if you're the last person that they say, hey, the last person to talk to Nate was Dave. Dave, can you tell us what you thought of? And you say, man, that dude was an absolute jerk. He just transacted me, cared nothing about me, just cared about promoting himself. That is not the version of me that I want to be when I'm no more. Moreover, it's not the version of me that I want people who love me to have to answer for. So I would much rather go in the complete opposite direction, which is to say, I want it to be like a date, and I want Dave to want to date me again. And the only way Dave is going to want to date me again is if I treat Dave with the utmost respect when I'm with him.
I think that's a pattern we could take into our lives beyond podcasting. If we're loving on people like that, right?
Yeah.
Putting them first, all of those things. That's a great overall message for how we can do life better. Sounds like a journal idea.
Well, David, sounds like this, this label I've given myself about being a humanity propulsion engineer. You can't propel humanity forward if you can't find out ways to engineer your own behavior such that people feel good about the way you make them feel when they're in your presence.
And that propulsion requires fuel.
Yep.
Requires an ignition, requires some kind of thrust, all these different things, right?
Absolutely. Yep. So that's what I do.
Okay, so how did that come to play? How did you come up with that? Because you have it on all your website, you have it in your email signature. When you come on screen, that's the first thing I see. Why that?
Humanity propulsion engineer?
Yeah.
Because I believe in social engineering, and social engineering sounds a little bit it sounds a little too common. Motivational speaker also sounds a little too common. I also don't believe that you can motivate anybody. I think the best motivation, as you know, is intrinsic motivation. So you can be a spark, but what people do thereafter is completely up to their own internal drive. So I just thought, what can I do? I can maybe sometimes be a booster, because even a booster, when we think of a rocket, it falls back. So you can't make the full journey with someone. You can maybe give them a boost, but at some point you're going to have to fall back. And that's what I want to do. I want to be a person who helps propel compassion and love and, good deeds and thoughtfulness. I want to be a person that helps to propel that forward. And I'm not an engineer, but it's cute because I'm the father of a PhD in engineering, electrical computer engineering. And so he used to tell me, you're not an engineer. And I said, yes, I know I'm not an engineer, but he agrees now. He agrees now that I am a humanity propulsion engineer. So that's cool. I've gotten his permission. So that's the only engineer's permission in all of the universe that I need.
I love it. I love it. So what's next for Nate? What I know you do a lot of speaking engagements. Again, you're active in podcast guesting and all of that. Kind of what's like the next few months look like for Nate?
The listeners can't see this, but I have my pinky, like Pinky in the Brain, complete and total world domination. Yeah, see there I am in movies and in songs.
Pinky in the Brain.
Right.
Yes.
Man, really the next 13 months are critical. I would like to begin the second chapter of my life with just doing just one thing instead of trying to multitask. It doesn't work. Multitasking doesn't work. And so I want to stop trying to multitask. I want to just do one thing, which is primarily write. If I could just write every day and speak every day and do those things for a living, I mean, that's the goal.
It's good stuff.
Yes.
Again, it's great when you meet good people because you're just you're just like a factory creating goodness and putting it out into the world. Whether or not it comes back to you, that doesn't seem to matter to you in the moment. You're just about producing. Just put it out there. And what happens with it, happens with it. Take what you want, leave what you don't want. It's fine. I'm just going to keep producing. And I know that Robin has a big task ahead of her monthly when she has to kind of go through the weeds and pick out some gems. They're all gems, but she's got whatever resonates with her, and she can add her reflections on. I love how she balances you out too, and she really helps us kind of go, oh yeah, I get what Robin's thinking here. I really like how the two of you play off each other, and you're not even in the same room for the recording, which is so cool.
None of us are, right? And you do your part as well, sir. Do not undervalue, undeserve what you do. I'm telling you, Robin reads them. And then if she likes them, she sends me a message and she says, bookmark, please and thank you. That's all it says, usually. Sometimes she'll say, oh, I really like this line or that line, but I don't care what she chooses. Like I really don't. I've given over to that. And the same with you. Like you say, well, Nate, about music, and I'm like, I don't care. Like you pick the music. You're the expert. I'm not the expert. I might tell you, we do that thing where I say, I listened to this song when I was recording it. But other than that, I don't even know what music you pick, and I don't care because I really don't own it anymore. I mean, I know it may sound counterintuitive to people, but I don't own it anymore. Like I got it. I know where I got it from. And then some people don't understand it, that you could wake up and you could hear a song or hear a movie scene happening or see words from a book. But I honestly wake up every day like that. It's not for me. I mean, I didn't create any of that. I haven't created anything that exists in the universe. Whatever's in the universe was here before me. I just get to be a little bit of a vessel. I receive it. And then I write what it is that it means to me in that moment. And sometimes when I write it, I finish it and I'm like, this is garbage. This is gobbledygook. I know I wrote a stream of consciousness, but I don't understand any of this at all. And then I'll send it to Robin. She says, oh, this is great. Bookmark it. And I was like, why? But okay, and record it. Okay. And then I record it and I send it to you and you do something with it. And one day I'll go back and listen to it. And I'm like, wow, that was pretty good. At the time, it made no sense whatsoever to me. But that's what happens. And so to your point, two things you said, like it is, you said you do stuff without thinking about the end result. And I don't know any other way to do it because to think about the end result depresses me because the end result can't come fast enough. So the only way I can be free of it is to be like a farmer and you just get up every day and you do the same things over and over. You don't have any idea if you're going to have a harvest or not. You can look at your almanac and see if it's supposed to rain too much or frost or whatever, but none of that is guaranteed. You don't know if you're going to have a harvest, but if you want to eat, you have to do these same things over and over. So that's the way I look at it. And then the other thing you said reminded me of the words my late father said, which is that if something works for you, then please feel free to use it. And if something I say doesn't, then please feel free to throw it away. And that's the way I feel about the journey.
So on the screen, everyone, as we're recording, it says just Nate for his name on the screen, which I love. And I think in the early days, it was just a journal, right?
Yes.
And now it's more than just a journal. It's bringing people together to work together on a project that we all love. Rob and I love working on this with you. People are listening to it around the world. So as you roll out of bed in the morning and you're going to just do a journal today,
Yes.
realizing that there's someone in Dubai listening to your thoughts in the moment, shared through a combined effort with some of your friends, like that's kind of means something to you, just to be like, man,
it's cool.
This message that's being given to me is now being redistributed.
It's cool, but I don't think that much of myself.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, man. But you know what? If you don't do it, the one thing I've learned about the universe, that if you don't do it, the universe will find somebody else to do it. So, like, you just get up and do your part. If that's all you, if this is your part, if your part is to receive a message and to write it down and then send it to Robin, then that's your part. That's your part in the big picture universe. That little teeny thing, then just do your little teeny thing. Like I used to hear someone say, he coaches at Florida State, and they call him Coach Yak, I believe his name is. And he tells his running back, he's the running back coach. He says, I tell them, we're on fries. Which is to say, that's all we do. We just make fries. We on fries. For the 7 minutes it takes to put the fries in, we on fries. And all you get to ask you was, do you want salt or no salt? And I just feel like you on journal. So you get up and you do the journal, and then you move on. That's your task. But don't get overexcited about who likes it. Don't get overexcited about if someone says something bad about it. Like, just be neutral. Don't get too high. Don't get too low. Just be neutral. You wrote it for you. And if it's still good for you, then let it still be good for you. And if somebody else gets something out of it, that's an extra blessing. But don't ever focus on the outside, because then it becomes performative, and that's not what I wanted to be.
We'll have a link to the Audiocast in the show notes, because I want people to go listen to it. Obviously, I want people to fall in love with it, add it to your routine. You're doing 3 a week. Is kind of our cadence for that podcast, Audiocast. See, I did it again for that Audiocast. It's my default setting, man. I can't shut it off. So 3 times a week you can get Just Nate and Just Nate's journal. So definitely go check it out. And for those behind the scenes, every episode has a different soundtrack. So
thanks to Dave.
Not the same track. It's not the same track every day, every episode. It's unique to that episode. Right?
Thanks to Just Dave. Thanks to Just Dave, we get a different soundtrack.
So for you, I haven't told you this yet, but we use the music from Story Blocks for your stuff, and it's great because they have so many different tracks and stuff. They just reached out to me and said, "Hey, we love what you're doing. Can we write a blog about me?"
Wow, okay, cool.
So Story Blocks did an interview with me and put it out into their community about podcasting and how to use their platform in podcasting and all that.
Look at that.
So, right?
Absolutely.
I'm like, that's pretty cool. I
have an account to something that I don't even use, don't even know how to use. And yes, that is all good. That's a blessing. Absolutely.
Amazing. So we'll get our message out there somehow.
Sounds good. I
love it. So Nate, I know where your website is because I helped you with it, but can you share with everybody your website? And we'll put all the links in, obviously.
Yep. It's Nathaniel, NATHANIELA, as in Adonis, but that's not really it. Turner, TURNER.com. NATHANIELA, TURNER.com.
And if you're an event planner and you're looking for an amazing speaker to jump up on stage and deliver to your audience in a unique and engaging way,
that's great.
Nate would be a great addition for your next event. Yes. He would love to get up and share and encourage your community. He just brings value in everything he does. So I highly recommend Nate for your next event.
Appreciate
this gentleman on stage.
Appreciate the endorsement, and I will definitely buy you some coffee, sir.
My coffee habit is definitely being increased with all this. I love it, Nate.
I appreciate it. You'll be over there nervous, dancing around pretty soon. All that caffeine in your system.
I love it. So I'm going to go convince Jen that it's time for waffles. We'll see how that goes.
Good luck.
Hopefully we'll be back again to see each other tomorrow, but
absolutely.
Wish me luck, because this is going to be an interesting conversation.
Tell Jen, come on now. Just tell her I'm counting on her. Until I did my part. Come on, that's it. All she got to do is make waffles. What is the problem, woman?
I know. There's a big story, everyone. You're like, wait, what's going on? Yeah. We'll expand on that in the future. But
I'll be having waffles, Dave, and then I'm going. Like I said, I'm going to circle us all.
You're going to send us a photo. Yeah, let's do that. Group chat.
Blueberries and strawberries on the top. Canadian maple syrup. I don't
Canadian maple. That's even okay. That's
I don't know if it's from Canada or not, but that makes the story sound even better.
I love it. Nate, thank you for doing this. Thank you for making time.
My pleasure.
Come on. We talked about different stuff that you don't normally talk about as a guest, which is fun.
That's correct.
So appreciate that.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right, everybody, all the information, as always, in the show notes. Go check out the Audiocast. See, I did it right. And make sure you go listen to it. It's amazing. It's going to inspire you. And it's highly shareable. So please share it to your audience and let your community know about this Audiocast as well. Thanks, Nate.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate you.
Hey, thanks for sticking around to the end of the podcast. I really appreciate you being here right to the very end. You are my new best friend. If you're loving everything here over at the How to Podcast series, we would love to offer to you, the listener of this fine podcast, the opportunity to get together with us on a regular basis on our meetup groups over on meetup.com. How do you get there, Dave? Where do we go? howtopodcast.ca is the website. There's a little image right there on the website. You can click through. Come join our community over on Meetup, where we get together right now every Saturday in the morning, and you get to meet other great podcasters from around the world. Some really smart people get together and help each other, whether you are brand new to podcasting and you don't even have a show yet, or you've been doing it for X number of years and you have X number of episodes. Come and meet some of the most amazing podcasters. Get away from doing podcasting by yourself and come and join other great podcasters just like you. And don't just come to get, but come to give. It's a community that we're building there. And you're welcome to come join us. You would make it better if you were there. So I know listening to a podcast is so transactional. You know, you press play, you go walk the dog or do the dishes or work in the garden outside. But now there's a chance for you to put the headphones down and come join a community and actually meet fellow listeners of the show. I get to meet you. It's all there on howtopodcast.ca. Come and check us out. We're holding a seat just for you on our regular meetups. Would love to have you come and join us. Thank you again for listening to the podcast, and look forward to having you come back for the next episode. Take care. Thanks for listening. Appreciate you.